And we're back.
And we're back.
Sam Gornto, George Easley, wave riding vehicles.
Right.
After the Feinbergs.
And that, well, we weren't making wave riding vehicles, but that's what the shaper that was there eventually did.
Okay.
Up in Virginia Beach. And
you said that they had the shop on Manatee.
we were making happiness surfboards, and we were making, it was a Sunshine House.
Sunshine House.
And we were making sunshine boards, yeah. It's,
That's not the Sunshine that Claude Codgen is associated with.
actually, I think he was related in some way to the shop, but it was Sam's shop, and I never saw Claudie in there at all, you know, until Sam sold it to Claudie, like 5 years later.
Okay, all right, so.
And I worked there through the whole time, and it was a nice shop to work in. Freddie worked there. My brother was sanding there.
Okay, so it's all in the family.
Yeah, it was pretty much all in the family.
You've worked that way all your life, pretty much, haven't you?
Yeah.
You've been lucky that way.
Yeah. Yep, I think shapers, surfboard people, they just know each other anyway, you know, so they seem to ask and find out things that other people,
Yeah.
you know, can't.
You're not even looking for it, and it
Yeah.
just shows up in
Yeah.
front of you.
Yeah. Well, that's how my job there happened, because George came down to my house and said, "Hey, Pat, if you want, they need a shaper there really bad." Bill Frierson, thank you.
Bingo. We have a name.
Yes.
Well, that's pretty easy when you don't have to go look for the work. The work comes and knocks on your door.
Yeah. Yeah, it was easy. And sometime after that, after Sam's place, I started tending bar at Bernard Surf.
Was that your first bartending gig?
No, when I came back from Barbados, I worked for what's the name of that?
We're right back where we were before.
The lobster place, whatever it is in Merritt Island, you know that.
Red Lobster?
Red Lobster,
Okay.
that's where I worked there. And I worked there for about a year, and
That's a pretty good gig for surfing, isn't it?
it's a perfect gig because you work nights. That's why, that was my whole dream in life, to work nights and surf during the day. And
I've done a lot of that too.
yeah. Yeah, so it worked out, and then, and I was shaping, like I said, for Steve and different people at that time. And
That's a really good place to be. No one operation or person has control over you to the point where if they pull the plug, you're going to be hurt.
right, right.
That is a design. You are a lucky. You got it all figured out.
Well, the truth is, though, there probably wasn't much money either place. There was just enough for when you have 2 kids. It gets to be.
Well, it gets a little tight with
tedious,
kids.
yeah.
But still, that's.
But it was good. It was all good, you know.
Now, tending at the surf, we're getting off of surfing, but forgive us. You had to meet some people in Bernard's Surf.
Oh, I did.
You don't have to go to the world in Cocoa Beach. The world comes to you.
Yeah, at the surf,
And it really
even
does.
stars and stuff came in there.
Yeah, it's real.
Yeah.
Any stories, any funny stuff, anything you can...
There was some blonde came in there, and Guy Camilleri, who I met
Guy
back.
Camilleri!
He's in movies himself now.
He's another...
And Guy was like hitting on her, you know, like big time.
Good luck, Guy.
And but she was having fun with it, you know. She was goofing, yeah.
Okay.
And a lot of people like that. Clint Eastwood was in there.
The surf was, especially when the space program was up and
Yeah.
running. Now this is during...
Oh, they all came out to see a shot. All of
yeah,
them.
Apollo days.
Yeah. I saw Kirk Douglas. Linda was working at Ramone's, at Wolfie's, you know.
Yeah.
And I was walked in there to have a sandwich and something and see Linda, and I saw this guy. I knew I recognized him. He was dressed really sharp, and he was with a real pretty lady, and it was Kirk Douglas.
Right here in Cocoa Beach.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you bump into these people and you go,
Oh yeah. And the Holiday Inn at the time would say that somebody was going to be there, and sometimes they weren't really going to be there. Like Frank Sinatra and stuff like that, you know.
Yeah.
But everybody'd be having something to eat at Wolfie's, waiting to see if he showed up.
See who's going to be there.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Oh, God.
So they must have made a small fortune off of that. So I kept up with shaping. One of my worst shaping jobs was shaping. Billy got me a job. Didn't give me a job. He got me a place to shape at his Eberwine at his house. He had a chicken coop out back.
Whoa! Is this up Eberwine Road?
Yeah,
up in
on
that area?
Eberwine Road.
Yeah.
And I'm going, this has got to be the worst thing that's ever happened. This is the worst.
I'm guessing it wasn't air conditioned or anything.
Oh, it wasn't, and there were shadows everywhere on
Oh,
it, you know.
no.
At least there wasn't chickens anymore in there, thank God
How
for
did
that.
the boards look when you were...
Well, I thought they looked good, but you know, who knows? Who knows? And I did that for a couple months, and I said, you know, this ain't working here. So I moved on, and
You've shaped in a lot of places.
yeah, and then somewhere in the late 70s, I moved down there with Bobby Strickland.
12 Francis Street.
Yeah.
That's, okay, which is where you still got a shaping room, right?
I just got rid of it about 4 years ago, and
Really?
I shape at Roy's place now.
Okay, I thought that little hole was
And
still there
it was there forever, but
forever.
he, the owner, nice guy, but he didn't want to put anything into his building.
No, that's Rick Coons.
Rick.
Mark Grabowski's landlord.
Yes,
Yeah.
I don't, because there was so much mildew that people would come by and they go, how are you working in here? And so finally, out of guilt, and I was down there for 20 years, probably 25 years.
You had that compressor that was so loud.
Oh, it was.
I don't know how you can hear what I'm saying. You should be deaf.
Huh?
Yeah, that's the one.
No, but, and actually I gave it to Rick Coons when I left.
Oh, here, have a
Here,
gift
you
for
can
me.
have it.
Here's...
Actually, he asked me for it, and I said, yeah, you can have it. I don't want to haul it home. I'll haul it home, and then I'll have to throw it out another 5 years down the road, you know.
Yeah, you made one of my boards in that hole.
Yeah.
One of those monster nose riders.
Yep. You and Newt helped. You guys helped.
That caused a scandal at the Glassers.
It did.
Apparently, if the story is correct, and if I'm remembering it correct, because it had that weird sticker that I asked about. I wanted to have the O'Hare
Oh, that was great.
over a Strickland and over a Quiet Flight.
Oh,
Okay?
once I leave my...
Once it's out of your hands, it's yeah. And Newt cut that. I've still got that board under the house. It's right there. I've still got that thing. I need to take a picture of that sticker. But apparently, up at where Freddie was glassing it, one of the leisures came by and was not amused with the juxtaposition of the sticker.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I'm not sure why.
I don't know why either.
Yeah.
Some people take their self too serious. I don't know either one of them to know that or not, but
It's
I
a
do.
third-hand story from Newt.
well, you just to go to the Surf Expo, you can see people taking themselves way too serious.
They're out there.
They're out there.
You just go look around.
Not everybody, but some. You
Bob
can see.
Strickland didn't take himself seriously.
No, he didn't. He was a good guy.
He was
And
a sweetie.
He was. His mechanics were probably the best of any shaper I ever worked with.
I feel lucky to have been able to hang around, not just know him, but I can actually
Yeah.
hang around and
Yeah.
be in the room when he's doing boards and laughing at what he's doing, but
Yeah.
he'd do it precisely as he was instructed.
Yeah, no, he was good at shaping custom boards for people. Yeah, a lot of shapers can't do that. They want to talk you into their board.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know.
I'll get me started on that.
Yeah, but he was.
Yeah, we used to hang around there, and I'd see Pat O'Hare coming in and out.
Yeah,
Yeah, we'd sit out front, and Bob would have his drink, and I'd be pounding my cheap beers, and you'd give us a weird look and go to work.
Yeah, that's when he had his a whole shop on the other side.
Yeah, just that one little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He had a good shaping room, and he had a good little showroom. And small as it was, but it worked for him.
He's one of the most underappreciated, underrated guys.
I don't think he's underrated. I always thought he was great. I think a lot of people thought he was great.
I bump into people and you say Strickland and they don't know who you're talking about.
Well, they're going to say that about all of us.
Well, they're not supposed to. Well, no, everybody knows Pat O'Hare. No, that's not right. No, that's not right. Whatever.
Yeah, whatever. But in Bobby's defense, so he spent half his shaping time down in the southern part of Brevard. So when he came up here, he did pretty much what I did. He worked for the city.
He worked for Donnie Mulhern.
That's what I mean, down in Melbourne.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, he was his main shaper.
The tree and all of that.
And my brother worked with him.
Yeah.
And then when Donnie, I don't know what Donnie finally did, but he did get out of the manufacturing end of it.
Yeah, he'd had enough.
Yeah, he'd had enough. Or he did. Yeah.
Strickland was originally from Lakeland.
I knew it
Redneck
was
from Central Florida.
Yeah.
Not too far from Mulberry, home of the Phosphate Museum.
Oh, really?
Let's go to the Phosphate
Ooh.
Museum now.
Anyway, Bobby could have shaped anywhere.
Yeah,
He
Bobby.
could have.
That was a neat little setup. You were there, Bobby was
Yeah,
there,
we had-
Grabowski's around the corner. I mean, it was just a cool
And we
place.
had a lot of good talks about shaping. Me and Bobby
Oh,
did. That was
God.
great.
Oh, I wish I would.
That was fun. And we built essentially similar boards.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, a good board is a good board.
Yeah.
How far can you go?
Well, you can go. He leaned towards a little bit wider nose because he liked the nose rider aspect of the board than I did it. But I wanted mine to be. I guess I tried to build a semi nose rider. I don't know what that was about, but that's what I. To this day, the nose is wide enough that you can ride the nose,
Yeah.
but I don't want it to be the whole board.
Oh, okay, what's an optimal, when I say optimal, I'm speaking very generally, not just for yourself and not for everybody, but a good width for a nose.
I think it's got to be 18 and a half to 19 and a half, somewhere in there.
Somewhere in there.
And Bobby's were 20 inches wide
Yeah.
in the nose. And width-wise, we were the same. Tail-wise, he leaned towards the square tail, and I leaned towards the round tail.
That's absolutely right. I hadn't realized that, but yeah.
Well, we worked together for about 10 years, so.
You would know.
And thickness-wise, we were pretty much on the same.
He liked those big teardrop concaves under the nose.
I wasn't a big concave person either. He was, and they worked. It's like Stu Sharp builds a totally different board than I would build, but his boards work, and that's.
Yeah, when you're done,
Think of in our lifetime the types of boards that have been built. Anything works if it fits somewhere in the wave where. That's the dynamics of it.
And if the guy that's on top of it.
If that's the dynamics, if you're riding up high, all those little teardrop things that we were at, when I was working at Sam, they were darts,
Little minigun things. Oh, yeah! Reno Abalera's got one. I want one too. Yeah.
And they were all, some of them were beautiful. I had, at the end of the night when I'd shape at Sam's place, I would sit back and look up at the boards and go, that looks pretty good.
What is it about surfboards that does that? When you just look at them,
they look like they're moving.
Yeah, man.
Up on a rack, yeah.
If it's shaped well, you can look at some of them and go, "There's something wrong with
There's
that."
something wrong. Yeah. It's a good surfer if he can't get a custom board because, you need to know the guy's a true custom shaper, and not somebody trying to sell you his ideas.
That's hard to do.
So if you go in and buy a board off the rack, which I probably never did, growing up in the surfing community, you need to go and feel the board and pick it up and look at it and turn it over. And if it feels right, it probably is going to be right in the water,
That is absolutely, it's rare to pick one up and think it's good and it's not.
Yeah, right,
It almost never happens.
Right.
Yeah. Your hands tell you something.
They do. They tell you something about the rails. It gives, I don't know if it's like your Mentat thing or something.
You hear it over and over.
Yeah. But I think I could go into a shop if I could serve and pick out a board that I knew would work for me.
I have no doubt. None whatsoever.
You know, yeah. So, I think there's a lot of guys out there like that. They don't want to wait for a custom board, but they know what they want when they get it.
That'll work. If If you've got the minimum eye and hands, you can just go pluck one somewhere.
I think Sean's like that, but he better not go get it.
I'll tell him. You're in trouble, Sean.
In the future, he's probably going to have to do that anyway. But
now, he never got into shaping, did he?
I never wanted him to, and he decided he didn't want to either. It's not a healthy environment.
It is not.
And I don't want... He's done with the museum, he's done more for surfing than I ever did, you know, as far as...
Okay.
You know.
Yeah. And yeah, shaping is a toxic job.
It is toxic. I'm lucky. And look at Freddie in the glassing end of it. He's been sick. Now he's over in Sweden or someplace, and they're
trying to...
And God help them, I hope they do. Fix them, whatever it is.
I never knew Freddie. I never hung with him.
I've known him forever. When he first moved down here from Virginia with his brother.
He glassed that 10-7 or whatever it is with that funny O'Hare Strickland.
Oh, he did? He glassed? Yeah.
Remember Newt telling me all about that.
Well, where was he working at the time?
Up at the factory, up by, where was it? Up by the port somewhere.
Oh, Quiet Flights.
Yeah,
That's
Flight
they were pissed. They were pissed about that. Did they?
I don't know if they were pissed, but apparently eyeballs or eyebrows were raised. That was.
Who Matt? What
yeah,
matters?
That's like a foreign object.
I did have. I went in there to look at a Mickey Dora because he had some boards that belonged to that.
Wait a minute. Start over again. You went where?
To Quiet Flight, the showroom. Because they had a bunch of old boards hanging from the ceiling.
Okay.
That belonged to, I can't think of his name. Is that that's
kind of boards?
Old longboards.
Old classics.
Yeah, and one of them was a Dora.
Okay, which you shaped.
Well, maybe not that one.
Not that one, but
yeah,
if anybody's going to know about a cat being, you would know.
And I asked him if I could take some measurements, and whoever it was, and said, I think you need to ask the owner.
Oh!
And I didn't say anything. I said, well, that's probably a good idea.
See ya. Oh,
but
a little corporate.
Yeah.
A whole corporate thing.
And I knew it was like 1/3 of the deck. That's how the concaves, like Bobby's concave was 1/3 of the board was probably concave.
Right.
You know? I just wanted to kind of.
Yeah, I would be. Yeah, especially if you did. You know, your own hands have been laying these things together.
Yeah.
You wanna,
But we did when we did all of them when we were doing production. We had a template and a router that we routed that out. It was set. So
this is the scoop in the deck, or
the scoop in the deck.
That was like the first step deck ever, wasn't it?
It was one. I think Yater might have come out with it about the same time.
That was
Yeah. It was the first. It was dynamic in its whole look, you know, and I'm not sure. I'm sure it didn't work bad. It had to work good, but it was uncomfortable to get up there in that.
There was a funny space where your foot goes.
But what he was trying to do, and it probably worked, was make sure you didn't make the front too weak that it broke.
To snap it off.
So they had that V that went up.
The weirdest step deck ever made.
Yeah. But it probably was stronger because of that.
Never heard of one breaking.
So.
Yeah, that was the last thing before they started sawing 2 foot off the end of all the boards.
Yep. Yeah.
The very last phase.
And then I guess they did that for a while till Clark and Walker decided they needed to make small blanks.
We're going to change the plugs around a little. How many of those things? How many cats do you think you shaped?
I probably didn't do that many. I probably did 100 because I was living out here, but I was doing 5 a day when I was there.
And I'm guessing they made several 20 or 30,000 of them.
Oh, they made.
Yeah.
Greg and Dora probably could have gotten rich just off of that. you know.
I'm sure they got something.
Yeah, it was all good.
It was all good. Yeah, that's something that most people I don't think know about you, is the fact that you shape those cats. Because that's, for some reason, that's the big collector board of all.
Yeah, it is a big collector board, and you know, I didn't even know if I put my initials on them because they were so.
I bet they wouldn't let you.
I don't think they would. They didn't like us putting our names on. I mean, our initials on their boards anyway. So but I did, and everybody did somewhere real
Some
small.
little sneaky mark.
Yeah, P.O. I did, you know, which I couldn't find it now if my life depended on it. Top or bottom.
They lay pigment over top of it anyway.
Oh, yeah, it's a lot of them, yeah. But I finally went away from, you can't tell me what I can't do.
Yes, good for you.
But in the meantime, you let a lot of boards go through your hands that you've shaped and that you should have signed them.
Yeah, because
not just me. I mean, all of us that.
Yeah.
There were some guys that could, you know, like Phil Edwards. You know, who's going to tell him?
Yeah, who's going to tell Phil Edwards? No, sorry, Phil.
That's good. You misspelled that though, right there. And Mike Henson and whoever, Dewey.
Those guys.
Harold Diggy was the guy that was his head shaper.
Harold Diggy was a real guy.
Oh, real.
Yeah.
Even now, I think he's got relatives in Daytona that has a surf shop.
Really?
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Matthew was telling me about it.
Matty?
Yeah.
Matty Helms?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
He went up there and he says, you should go up there and talk to him because they need somebody to shape something. And I was thinking that'd be a good idea, but I never really had a car that I could trust that much.
You're such a homebody. I'm trying to get you out to see Newton 29 Palms, and I know that's never going to happen. You won't even go to Daytona Beach.
No. And Harold, there's no telling how many boards Harold Diggy did for Dewey, but it had to
Around
be.
since the early 60s.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah, he was there since probably 60.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I was gone, I don't know when he left, but he was doing all the sports for a while. Funny thing is, though, there was a guy there that hung out there, Wilton Kiyama, that I surfed with, and you wouldn't know him, but he was you know, on the East Coast on the West Coast from Hawaii. And he surfed there all the time with me. And he always had a good sense of humor, always laughing about something. But he went in the afternoons and hung out at Dewey's and learned how to glass without ever touching a board. And then he came out.
Wait, how does that work?
I think you can watch and get a feel for what somebody's doing and talking to them and stuff like that.
I guess if you're intelligent enough.
Yeah, and he came out here, started glassing for me, and he improved the look of my board. Like,
Oh, really?
oh yeah, good 30-40%, because he had the cut lines. We didn't have cut lines yet.
Okay,
They were
nice
doing
and
that
pretty.
cut, the Gordon and Smith cut line.
Okay. How do they do that? They do that with a razor blade or something?
Yeah, they do it, but they lift up the tape and they cut it sideways rather than straight down, and then they just cut straight down the nose and tail, you know. But Gordon and Smith is the ones that came out with it first, and they had a beautiful cut line that they did.
Yeah, I remember. Oh, the Folan glass and 2 layers of tin and all of that stuff. And these gorgeous pieces of artwork.
Yeah. They pretty much wore. They got to be, yeah. And MTB probably started that in California with Brahmet and Mulhern and Takayama. His shapes were impeccable, you know.
Yeah, the things would last a year or two, and some kid would stomp it into the dirt and go get another one.
Yeah,
The boards that we tore up and destroyed,
Oh, my God.
sacrifices.
Well, I told you about the ones that we got stolen, me and Ricky, you know, when we put 2 more boards.
Yeah, you set the decoy up and they didn't come back.
And we fell asleep waiting for them.
Which was lucky. Yeah, okay, talk to me about board sacrifices. You ever anything terrible?
No,
Any
no,
Viking funerals?
No, I didn't. I think that was in La Jolla and stuff where you saw those guys going through those drain canals, you know, coming out the other end.
The old Greg Knoll movie.
Yeah, and those guys were crazy. But I can remember on the Strand after the Santa Ana winds. Now you got to remember these boards are actually heavy. You know, they're like
30 pounds.
Yeah, easy 30 pounds, but they seemed light to us because before that they were heavier.
Like 100 pounds.
Yeah. So I can remember taking mine, because it's kind of a cliff straight down to the beach, throwing mine off, and it floated in the wind and just kept spinning until it hit the sand. And I mean, I wasn't the only one. Rather than carry it down, you know, people were. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, that's okay. Old surf movies, Sunset Beach in particular, there's always the shot of the board just taking off and spinning at about 1,000 RPMs as it flew outside.
Right, right.
And you don't see it because they're tied to us, and we can't.
That doesn't happen.
Which is kind of nice if you're sitting outside. Nothing's going to be coming out of the sky.
Really,
Just,
really. Yeah, those that offshore there. I guess that's what helps make Sunset what Sunset is, though, too.
Yeah, I can see you throwing that thing off the cliff and getting the same effect.
Yeah. No, it worked out good.
You didn't break the fin off.
No, no.
Those things were strong.
You probably couldn't break it off with a sledgehammer. You could hurt it, but you wouldn't break it off.
Oh, man.
And they were ugly, but they looked beautiful to us back then. Now you see old fin, you go, oh my God, what were we thinking?
How does that work? Too funny. So basically, from then on, you're down there at
Francis Street.
Francis Street, and you've pretty much just been grinding them out ever since.
Yep, yep. I got so many. I have this thing that I say, I bet you if it's slow, I bet you if it's busy. But I was more busy than slow down there, you know.
Yeah, I marvel at how many boards you think you shaped over your lifetime? Do you have any idea?
Yeah, I think somewhere around 30,000 boards.
Woo.
And a lot of these guys have shaped way more than that, you know.
That's a lot of boards.
But now a lot of them are machine shaped first, so that's.
So all you're doing is finishing.
Yeah, but it's still, for me, it's a job still. But
Well, it's real stuff, but it's not. You don't start out by
No,
skinning the blank. Yeah. I remember when you made that 10-7 of mine. That after you got finished mowing the thing down to just a decent kind of a. You looked at me and says, "Don't ever ask me to do this." I distinctly, and you look like you had just run a marathon.
Yeah,
I felt bad. I'm like, oh man, I didn't mean to do
How
that.
big was that?
It was 10. The original blank was 12.3, I think. But of course, you cut a piece off to make the rocker right when it's all that.
For what you.
But the thickness I remember you were just going at it with that planer down as deep as it would cut.
Yeah. Now the planer doesn't cut them as clean because the foam is stronger, so you have to walk slower.
Really?
Yeah, we used to, when I worked at Greg's and even up in New York, we used to almost run. You know what I mean? We could almost run. Yeah. But now they rip so bad you can't.
Ah, okay.
You can't run like that. You have to.
I remember Strickland, when he was done with the planer, he was almost done.
He truly was, yeah. And I don't know where I got that from, but I'd like to block sand it. I spent so much time.
The look says it all.
So much time on doing that. And Bobby had enough brains to stay with the planer. No, I'm going to do it by hand.
He was gutsy. He didn't.
No, yeah, he was, and he was good at what he did.
There's no air when you get down to that place. He was foolhardy. No. That's not nice.
No, it was foolhardy the way I shaped it. I still shape like that. I mean, I cannot bring myself not to shape like that.
You're your own craftsman.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to.
Yeah, and the thing about surf racks is they were, at one time they were like just above waist, because it must have came from balsa boards, because they originally used those things that you know put what is it called? The just
Talk around it.
stands that, horse
Well, yeah, sawhorses.
sawhorses. That's what they used.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's what they used.
That's a
So
little
when they
low.
first decided to make racks, they didn't make them too much taller than that.
Okay, you say racks, and I immediately went to surf racks. You're talking about a shaping stand.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
the people will know that. 'Cause
Yeah.
They're probably.
And then they came up a little bit, and now people like down at where Stu works, they're up higher. He asked me, keeps asking me, why don't you move it up? It won't be harder. It's harder on your back. And I'm going, I'm not saying that's what I'm saying. I can't put enough pressure on it up if
You
it's
gotta
up.
lean down and.
You got to lean down and use this sander.
Tear down.
Yeah. But I see that when he's doing those surf skis, he has to put the racks a little bit lower. But he's a tall guy, and he,
Yeah, I'd never considered that. The height of the equipment that the board was
Oh,
shaped on.
it's moved
It's
up.
moving up.
Oh, it's moved up.
I never thought such a thing.
It's moved up to about here, I would think.
Really?
Yeah, and
Yeah, you think of a guy leaning over and putting some weight behind it
Right,
occasionally.
right.
Which, yeah.
but that is hard on your back. Stu's right about that, and he,
I would think it would be hard holding the planer out as opposed to down a little. I guess-
well, I don't know either.
You do this.
Yeah.
I don't.
I do that, but I don't do that. I use my planer the way I use my planer, and every shaper does,
Any favorite planers? Anything like that?
No, I like the Hitachi, the new one. I like the Skill planer.
What's the thing with the Skill 100? Is it mostly smoke and mirrors, or is there really something there?
No, it's a good planer. I use that if I do a balsa board because I know it's stronger and it'll hold up. But I have to be careful with that. I don't burn my Skill up. And the thing about a lot of people at the very end of the Skill era, they were cutting the beds off of them so they were shorter. Okay, and I never wanted to do that because I felt like you have the planer to keep it level, to keep it straight so everything comes out true,
Reasonably enough.
But then boards got so short and the noses kicked up. Do you remember those?
Oh!
They even had a name for them, like Shoe or something like that.
Something like that. And again, Strickland's name pops back up with those turbo hogs that he made for a while. And with the insanely flipped nose.
Yeah. And that was actually, I'm sure that was to give you some forgiveness. If you overuse the board, the nose would come back up, and so keep you. And if you watch over the years, the shape of the rails have gone from completely down to almost like a longboard, where it's up in the nose and down in the tail.
Yeah.
And there's much more. A lot of them have more concave because they're trying to fly in the wave and come back down in it,
Which is a whole different thing. It's
Yeah.
got a whole different way of getting done.
Yeah, and I'm sure before I'm gone, I'm going to not understand surfing. I'm going to say, what the hell is that?
Stylish, smooth surfing.
Yeah, it's what I grew up with, but
And it's never going to go away.
no, not for some people, and we owe that to the Hawaiians, like I said. The Hawaiians.
Yeah, the Hawaiians are the guys.
They're the ones, the older ones, and they were good surfers. So you can take that shortboard and put it wherever you
Whatever
want.
you want to do, Howdy Boy, it's okay with it. Yeah, there was an article in just the most recent, I think, surfing magazine or surfer magazine online. Joel Tudor, who really has a few harsh words for some of these people doing some of the stuff they do with longboards, and he's advising. Pull it back in, guys. Keep it stylish. Keep it on a small wave.
Yeah, they're trying to do what they do on short boards
Which I never understood.
I got a couple movies like that. There is the modern longboard surfer, and there's a traditional longboards. On the classic longboard, if you're going to surf a longboard, now, this is too senile for the whole world, but
No, it's still.
I think that's
dead
what it
center.
should be.
Yeah, and Tudor agrees. And what?
Yeah.
He's 30. He's still a kid.
Well, I told you about that time that I told him about boards.
Tell me.
We were at in the Legends booth, which isn't a booth, it's a place you could sit. But there's not enough seats for everybody to sit. So I'm standing up there next to one of my balsa boards that somebody had brought in, and he says, "I like that kind of board, that kind of natural rail." Well, yeah. This is a gunky rail, you know.
No, it's not gunky.
And I'm going, at least we've come a little ways from that, you know, but I had no idea that was Joe Tudor.
Oh.
So as I walk away, somebody says, "What are you talking to Joe Tudor about?" And I went, "That's Joe Tudor." And I went, "There you go, Pat, opening your mouth again." But since then, I've seen articles on him, and he said the classic longboard is the board to ride, and he says it's a modern classic longboard, which is
a little different, not much.
Yeah, but the balsa board that I made was probably thick because I was too lazy to take the rails down anymore. It's a big job.
That's a lot of work, right?
Yeah.
That makes that monster of mine look easy.
No.
I can't imagine.
And you can't breathe. You think you can't breathe in foam. Balsa wood just stays in the air the whole time. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I wouldn't know the first thing about it.
Yeah, just they're a pain. They're beautiful when they're done. I've done, for a while I was doing about 3 a year, and
what's the last one you've done? How long has it been?
It's probably been about 4 years. I did, maybe 3 years. I was actually up at Roy's. It was for my neighbor. I made him one.
Oh man, special stuff.
Yeah, Mac. I made Mac one.
Okay, all right.
And it's just for looks. I don't channel them. You know.
Yeah, it's another thing for another. Yeah, it's not really for surfing at all.
No, I don't think so. I mean, if you want to take it out for that one time, say I surfed it, that's okay.
It's a novelty
item.
Yeah.
And then
although
clean
they
it
are
back
gorgeous.
It was beautiful.